Mark Zuckerberg put down his fork and looked at me seriously. In 2004, I had a choice. Finish Harvard or drop out to work on Facebook full-time. Everyone said I was making the biggest mistake of my life. He paused. But I wasn't building a social network. I was building the future of human connection. What I didn't realize was that I was also creating humanity's biggest social experiment. The story he told me next revealed the real reason he's betting everything on the MetaVerse. Tonight, I'm having dinner with Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Meta and one of the most influential people of the 21st century. We're in a quiet restaurant in Palo Alto, just miles from where Facebook was born, in a Harvard dorm room. He's about to share the untold story of how a college project became a global phenomenon that changed how humanity communicates. "Take me back to that Harvard dorm room," I said. "What were you actually trying to build?" Zuckerberg's eyes lit up with the same intensity I imagine he had as a 19-year-old. "I wasn't trying to build Facebook initially. I was trying to solve a problem that had been bothering me since high school: social isolation in digital spaces." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. In 2003, we had email, we had instant messaging, but there was no way to really understand your social graph, who your friends were, how they connected to each other, what they were interested in. Social networking sites like Friendster existed, but they were clunky and didn't reflect how people actually interact." "So you decided to build something better?" "I built Facemash first, which was problematic." He smiled sheepishly. "It was a site where you could rate people's attractiveness. Got me in trouble with Harvard administration, but it taught me something important about human psychology." "What was that?" "People are inherently social and comparative. They want to connect, they want to be seen, and they want to understand where they fit in their social ecosystem. Facemash was crude, but it showed me the appetite for social interaction online." "Then came the Facebook?" "Right. I wanted to create something that captured the richness of real social networks. In physical space, you know who your friends are, who their friends are, what communities you share. Online, that context was missing." The waiter brought our wine. Zuckerberg took a small sip before continuing. "The key insight was that social networking shouldn't be about meeting strangers. It should be about deepening existing relationships and discovering connections you didn't know existed." "But you were just a sophomore. Did you realize the scale of what you were building?" "Not at all. I thought maybe 10,000 Harvard students would use it. When we expanded to other colleges and hit 100,000 users, I was shocked. When we hit 1 million, I knew we had something unprecedented." "When did you realize you had to drop out?" "Summer 2004. We had moved to Palo Alto for the summer to focus on Facebook full-time. Sean Parker had joined as president. We had raised some money from Peter Thiel. The site was growing by 30 to 40% month over month." "What was the exact moment you decided not to return to Harvard?" Zuckerberg paused, remembering. "September 2004. I was supposed to fly back to Cambridge for junior year. Instead, I was sitting in our first real office in Palo Alto, watching user numbers climb in real time. I realized I had two choices: go back to studying computer science or apply computer science to potentially change how billions of people communicate." "How did you make that decision?" "I applied what I call the irreversibility test. Could I go back to Harvard later if Facebook failed? Yes. Could I recreate the moment Facebook was having if I went back to school? The window of opportunity was now." "What did your parents say?" "They were concerned. My dad is a dentist. My mom is a psychiatrist. They understood the value of education, the security of traditional paths. Dropping out of Harvard to work on a website seemed insane to them." "How did you convince them?" "I didn't try to convince them initially. I just said I was taking a leave of absence to explore this opportunity. But I also showed them the numbers: user growth, engagement metrics, early revenue experiments. Data is persuasive." "When did you know Facebook would become massive?" 2005 to 2006. We had expanded beyond colleges to high schools, then to everyone. But the real indicator wasn't just user growth, it was usage patterns. People weren't just signing up, they were using Facebook for hours every day. What did that tell you? That we had created something addictive. At first, I thought that was purely positive. If people were spending time on Facebook, it meant we were providing value. I didn't anticipate the negative consequences of that addictiveness. The main course arrived. Zuckerberg had ordered a simple pasta dish, staying true to his minimalist reputation. Let's talk about those negative consequences. When did you first realize Facebook might be causing harm? Gradually, then suddenly. Around 2010 to 2012, we started seeing research about social media's impact on mental health, particularly among teenagers. Initially, I was skeptical. Correlation isn't causation, and social media could just as easily be reflecting existing problems rather than creating them. What changed your mind? Our own internal research. Around 2017 to 2018, we conducted studies that showed heavy Facebook usage, particularly passive consumption, was correlated with decreased well-being. That was a wake-up call. How did that feel personally? Devastating. I had started Facebook to help people connect and feel less lonely. Learning that it might be making some people more lonely was the opposite of everything I intended. What did you do about it? We restructured the newsfeed algorithm to prioritize meaningful interactions over passive consumption. We reduced the reach of clickbait content. We invested heavily in mental health resources and suicide prevention tools. But critics say that wasn't enough. Critics are right that we should have moved faster, but they're wrong if they think we don't care about the problems. Every algorithm change affects billions of people. We have to be careful about unintended consequences. Let's talk about the 2016 election and misinformation. How did that change Facebook? Zuckerberg's expression became more serious. 2016 was a turning point. We discovered that foreign actors had used our platform to spread misinformation and influence the election. That was a massive failure on our part. How was it a failure? We had built tools for connection and sharing, but we hadn't sufficiently considered how those same tools could be weaponized for disinformation. We were thinking like engineers, not like geopolitical strategists. What did you learn? That platforms aren't neutral. When you're connecting billions of people, you're creating systems that can be exploited by bad actors. You have a responsibility to anticipate and prevent that exploitation. How do you balance free speech with content moderation? It's the hardest problem we face. Different cultures have different norms around acceptable speech. What's considered offensive in one country might be normal discourse in another. We're essentially creating global speech norms, which is an enormous responsibility. What's your philosophy on that responsibility? We should err on the side of giving people voice, but we also have to protect people from harm. The challenge is defining harm in a way that's consistent, fair, and culturally sensitive. Let's shift to the metaverse. Why are you betting everything on VR and AR? Zuckerberg's enthusiasm returned. Because the current internet is fundamentally limited. We're still basically looking at flat screens and typing text. The metaverse will let us interact with digital content and each other in ways that feel natural and immersive. Can you give me a concrete example? Imagine we're having this dinner, but instead of sitting in a restaurant, we're having dinner on the International Space Station, or in ancient Rome, or in a beautiful place that doesn't exist in the physical world. The conversation would be the same, but the experience would be richer. But isn't that just escapism? The best-case scenario isn't escapism, it's enhancement. You could have a business meeting with colleagues from around the world and feel like you're in the same room. You could learn history by walking through historical events. You could maintain relationships across distances in ways that feel genuinely present. What about the risks? Won't the metaverse amplify the same problems we've seen with social media? Absolutely, and we're thinking about those risks from day one this time. Privacy, safety, mental health, digital addiction. We're building solutions for these problems into the foundation of the metaverse. How? Privacy by design. Your data stays on your device unless you explicitly choose to share it. Safety tools that let you control your environment and who can interact with you. Time management features that help prevent excessive use. Why should people trust Meta with the metaverse given Facebook's past problems? Fair question. We've made mistakes, but we've also learned from them. More importantly, the metaverse won't be controlled by any single company. We're building open standards so other companies can build compatible experiences. What does success look like for the metaverse? 1 billion people using VR and AR regularly for work, education, entertainment, and social connection. When putting on a headset feels as natural as picking up your phone. When will that happen? The technology is advancing exponentially. High-quality VR headsets cost $400 today. In 5 years, they'll probably cost $100 and be much lighter. In 10 years, AR glasses will look like regular glasses, but overlay digital information on the physical world. What about the business model? How do you make money in the metaverse? Same as the internet today, commerce, advertising, and digital goods, but also new models like virtual real estate, digital fashion, and experiences that don't exist in the physical world. Let's talk about your personal evolution. How has running Meta changed you? It's made me more thoughtful about the second and third order effects of technology. When I started Facebook, I was focused on building cool products. Now I think constantly about how those products affect society. What's the hardest part of your job? Making decisions that affect billions of people with incomplete information. Every major product decision has trade-offs: privacy versus convenience, safety versus free expression, innovation versus stability. How do you handle that pressure? I try to optimize for long-term value rather than short-term metrics. I surround myself with people who disagree with me, and I remember that the goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be net positive for the world. Tiki, what about work-life balance? How do you disconnect from something that connects billions of people? I try to be present with my family. My daughters don't care about monthly active users or metaverse adoption rates. They just want dad to pay attention to them. What do you want your legacy to be? I want to be remembered as someone who helped humanity become more connected. Not just digitally connected, but genuinely understanding each other across cultural, geographic, and ideological boundaries. Any regrets about dropping out of Harvard? None. Harvard will always be there. The opportunity to build something that connects a third of humanity only comes once. What advice do you give to young entrepreneurs? Focus on problems that matter to you personally. Facebook succeeded because I was genuinely frustrated by existing social tools. If you're not passionate about the problem, you won't have the persistence to solve it. What about young people who want to work in tech? Learn to code, but also study psychology, sociology, and ethics. The biggest challenges in tech aren't technical, they're human. Looking ahead, what excites you most? The potential for technology to solve problems we can't even attack today. Climate change, disease, education, poverty. These are all areas where breakthrough technologies could make massive differences. What worries you most? That will let fear of technology's risks prevent us from realizing its benefits. Yes, AI and VR and social media can be misused, but they can also cure diseases, connect isolated people, and give everyone access to high-quality education. Final question. If you could go back to that Harvard dorm room, what would you tell your 19-year-old self? Zuckerberg smiled. Move fast, but think deeply about consequences. Build tools that bring out the best in people, not just tools that capture their attention. And remember that with great power comes great responsibility, even if you didn't ask for that power. As dinner ended, Zuckerberg reflected on the journey from college dropout to global tech leader. The thing about building something that affects billions of people is that you can never fully predict the consequences. You just have to commit to learning, adapting, and trying to do better. The alternative, not building anything, isn't really an option if you want to make a positive impact. This evening with Mark Zuckerberg gave me a new perspective on the responsibilities that come with technological power. His evolution from a college student solving a personal problem to a global leader grappling with humanity's biggest challenges shows that entrepreneurship isn't just about building companies. It's about building the future. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos to hear the most private dinner conversations where billionaires reveal their deepest secrets. Which part inspired you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure out how to become billionaires together.